All right. Well, hello, and welcome to our first live show of 2023, guys. My name's Eric, amateur radio call sign N1JUR, and I'd like to welcome everybody listening, and hopefully those that are starting to come into the chat to Live Free and Ham podcast. We're all super excited to hear you guys, and if this is your first time checking us out, it's our bi-weekly show where we explore various topics related to amateur radio with a particular focus on New Hampshire and New England. As always, I'm thrilled to have you guys here, and whether you're a first-time listener or one of our regulars, thanks for being part of our ham family. We'd like to greatly appreciate your support by leaving a review on iTunes or your preferred podcast platform of choice if you like any of our content. As this is our first live show ever, it will be available 24 hours from this recording once the stream ends. And if you provided feedback, I appreciate that immensely. We all do. Keep those reviews coming as it lets us know how we're doing. And you can always support us via Patreon or buy us a beer links located on the support the show links on our website. And please go check out our website at livefreeandham.com to catch up on previous episodes, check out our latest merch, and follow us on social media for all of our updates. As always, from all of our hosts here, we thank you guys for the support and all the love. So I'm joined live today with my two favorite hosts, best buds. First one is Ryan. How are you doing today, Ryan? What's going on?
Doing great. Glad to be here on our first live show.
All right. Hey, Todd, welcome to our live show, man. How are you doing? What's going on with you?
Same old. It's good to be live. Never done this before, so this is a first for me. But looking forward to it.
Very cool. All right. Well, we definitely, have a bunch of people in the chat. Hopefully, feel free to comment on any of the streams, and hopefully, as time goes through the podcast here or live show a little bit, we might invite a few people on, and so definitely, stay tuned for that. We do have another guest, one of our previous guests on a podcast that will soon air. Will be joining us after he finishes his net duties. So stay tuned for him. But as always, as we start out every show, guys, in usual fashion, we're going to talk about what's been going on in your ham week. I know, obviously, we all came off a field day about a week ago, so we've all had a chance to decompress a little bit. But I know when I leave field day, I somehow come back with a list of I got to do this, or I got to try this, or it invigorates me to kind of go out and do something. After field day. So any of you guys kind of run into any of that, or feel free to share. So throw it over to you, Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was I didn't have the opportunity to spend a lot of time at field day this year, but the couple hours that I was spending there, came back after everyone had packed up, started looking at camping gear. I think one of the things I need to research better is shelters and keeping the equipment dry and making it easier for setup and takedown, and just more creature comforts during the whole weekend experience.
Very cool. Yeah. So we definitely got a lot of rain this year. We broke our winning streak of sun for our every year from field day. But this day we got the deluge of rain for sure, but didn't stop any of us from having fun. So Todd, obviously what your experiences. I know you were running around going crazy yourself, but anything you kind of gleaned from field day this year.
Well, it never goes as planned, right? So I got there Friday, and I brought this new clam shelter. Screened in octagon, awesome shelter, and it's just supposed to pop up, piece of cake, take 5 minutes. I got it on Amazon. Of course, I didn't look at it before I get there, and it was inside out. So it took a while to figure out why it wouldn't work. Then we figured out it was inside out, and luckily KF4TPY was using his marine skills, and we're able to retwist it and get it up and going. So the thing was great. A lot of ventilation. I brought the side panels to keep the rain out, and very happy with it. It took me literally 5 minutes to take it down. I mean, literally it just implodes on itself and fits in the bag. So that was good. But then the negative thing is we found out that my DX10 wasn't transmitting, or it was, but at a low wattage. And I did make, I think, 4 or 5 contacts with low wattage, but I couldn't understand why no one could hear me because they were all coming in so clear.
That's when We got to say Team
here we
Icon
go.
came
Team
to the
Icon steps in again.
Yeah, Team Icon came to the rescue. Ryan brought his radio in, and we swapped them out. But luckily, I was pretty bummed out because I was like, "Oh, this is going to be not too good," because this is the radio I'm making into my Go Box, and found out that it's under warranty. So
Awesome. Good.
So I got I borrowed a dummy load from W1WRA Bill, and I'm testing it, and probably going to send it back tomorrow, and they'll fix that and get it back and put it in the Go Box.
Now, did they have any like rough idea of like what they think might be wrong with it? They think that's the finals, or they?
Yeah, they think it's the finals. The guy said, he goes, just do this test on FM, which we didn't do. I mean, we did pretty much all the tests that he asked me to do, but we didn't try it on FM. And he also wants me to try it with a different mic. So I'm going to test it on FM. I'm going to use the 2 mics that I have and my headset and see if anything happens. And if it doesn't, then I call him back. I get an order number and ship it back to him.
Oh, good. Well, at least your baby will get fixed and should be ready for the Go Box.
Yeah, I mean, it was receiving great. I mean, I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. And then I'm like, how come no one's answering me back? And then I did get that first one from Nova Scotia. And the guy's like, I can barely hear you. You're like a 3-2. I'm like, what?
I know. That thing was hooked up to a hex beam. There's no way.
I know. It's like that antenna is like I haven't gotten a chance to like really use it with that it's actually worked right for me. But once I got the ICOM, thanks, Ryan, and I made some good contacts. But
yeah, and it's always neat at field day because we're running on a battery power. We're separate from our shacks, and it's I find it much it's very quiet. The RF noise is subdued, and those signals really come in nice. It was also interesting. There was a Todd Certain YL that was there with her voice was able to really break in some of those pileups. So I know Todd was trying for a while. And, she stepped right up to the microphone and one contact after another. So that was funny.
I'm trying to break up a pileup for at least 20 minutes. Like I just could not get through. She gets on, does it once, boom, calls her right back.
Was that my daughter? That was my daughter?
Yeah, that was your daughter. I'm like, hey, you try it. I said, you'll probably get it right away. And sure enough.
She broke the curse because I remember our first field day I took her there. I was sitting in K1G's rig, 991. And I'm like, you're going to have fun because guaranteed they'll hear a female voice on the bands and they'll just come rushing to you. She could barely get one contact. I mean, she wasn't getting, like, their pileups were like chirping, crickets the whole entire time. And I was like, looking silly because my daughter, I'm telling her like, female voice is an extra 6 dB, no problem. You'll have no problem, drinking from the fire hose pileup wise, and she got nothing. So I'm glad she had redemption this year. So very cool. Oh yeah. So I guess for me, I had a lot of stuff that I brought, and I ended up kind of sort of feeling a little under the weather, so I didn't get a chance to do a lot of live streaming, which is what I really wanted to do. We did some live streaming, which we'll talk about a little bit, but from kind of what I got out of field day was I wanted to get more into my digital stuff. Like I wanted to get into the All-Star portable stuff. So I had bought an All-Star Pi, a clear node for the truck there. And that kind of sat on the bench for a while and I didn't get a chance to play with it. So I finally took it out of the box, finally, bought a few little small parts in here or there. And I'm trying to set it up so I can put it in a small little like portable, carry go box that I can tie in to the car charging system and use All-Star. Right now it's kind of just the combobulated parts of the the node and my wireless access hotspot, and it's getting power off the truck's 12 volt source or 110 source on the truck, and outside of it works really great. It's been fun. I've been playing around with it. It's really good to be able to like when I go away from the repeater, I can actually still stay connected to like the rest of the world and all the East Coast Reflector and a few others. So for what it's worth, it's pretty fun so far. I'm gonna really test it out when I get to Maine for our vacation coming up in the next 2 weeks or so. So I'm looking forward to kind of playing around with that. But the hex, man, I set that whole entire hex up thinking we were going to be like dominating. We were going to making contacts left and right. And, Murphy's Law struck and hit your radio hard, which is a bummer. But the night before, like we stole the antenna off your radio to go hook it up to KF4 TPY's radio. and I'll share more details on that. But like that came in like gangbusters. Europe was like our friend the whole entire night, and we were just sitting back and enjoying it and making a lot of contact. So it's awesome stuff. It's always good. Hey, if you're playing radio, even just like with your repeaters, then it's all good. It's all ham radio, so it's totally awesome. So I guess tonight's show, we're going to kind of do a little, go back and review. I mean, all of us kind of came into Field Day this year at different levels, and all of us talked, all of us did a little different, aspect of it. I mean, obviously, we'll dive into some of that, but we really want to just invite our audience. If you guys are in the chat and you're watching us and checking us out, feel free to, chit chat. And pose your questions out there. Just phrase them with a question at the beginning, so we know we can make sure we pick it up. We're hoping maybe a little later, once one of our favorite ham buddies, Tim, is finished up with his net duties, he'll jump back in here and share some of his insight, because he is our unofficial, we'll call concierge of catering. So he's done an amazing job every year with our field days, and he's always had some great stories there as well. And he did some CW operating, which I won't take his thunder on this year to talk about. So just in general, I mean, obviously you guys kind of came at it a little differently this year's field day. Let's kind of talk just on a high level. We all built up the anticipation to coming up to that week. Was it any different than your other previous field days? Did you feel like, there was going to be some higher level of expectation, or did you think, there's going to be some amazing, thing you wanted to accomplish on that field day, or, that you kind of set forth to reach, and did you come close to do it? Let's kind of start there.
Well, last year, right? Didn't you say I had the most sideband contacts? Yeah, I didn't even come close this year. My goal was to beat that number. Yeah, it didn't happen, but that was equipment error, right? For the longest, I was out there for a couple hours, basically transmitting nothing. I want to just go real quick to the comments. Bill K1XF, he asked what happened to my finals. So the finals went, I wasn't transmitting anything, maybe a watt or two. I did make 4 contacts. I called Yaesu. Radio is less than 3 years old. It's a 3-year warranty. They gave me a list of things to do to test. Bill, W1WRA, lend me a dummy load. I'm going to test that on FM, and if it doesn't work, I just got to call them up tomorrow, and they will give me an order number, and I'll just send it back to them to fix. So hope that answers the question, Bill. And go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, it's we had a couple new members who were setting up their station and were operating, and that was pretty neat to have them participating with us. So it's always good to have new members, being part of the big field day activity. One thing I was wanting to do is some of the during the evening hours, some of the operating stations, they tend to go quiet as people are around the campfire or whatnot. And I took the opportunity to walk over to a few of the stations and fill in the gaps there for the transmitting.
Yeah, the whole experience was kind of funny because, like, in comparison to last year for me, we were really like, oh, we're all gonna, and we all kind of came at a different things. I think, Ryan, you had a scheduled, vacation plan that kind of had a turn for a different direction, and Todd, as always, baseball. Is baseball. So you were, 6 ways, and I give you credit. I couldn't, I'm running around crazy enough doing planning and coordinating a field day. Nevertheless, you were doing baseball and trying to operate, at any length of time was feat of its own. But I think between the 2 years from 22 to 23, I think for me it was just a little, different atmosphere. There's definitely new players in the club that wanted to come in and set up a station and did phenomenally well, which I'm quite impressed. And we'll call the repeat offenders that come every year tend to have had a different viewpoint on it, and I was quite surprised that they warmed up in a different way, and we all just kind of got a chance to experience field day just a little differently. For me, it I started into Friday. I knew Thursday I wasn't feeling 100%, and I got a cold from somewhere, either my wife, she's a teacher, and anybody knows a teacher, you end up becoming subject to all of the illnesses that she brings home from the classroom. So I somehow couldn't avoid it and brought it with me. So I had just a kind of a headache, and just kind of muddling through the day on stuff to be able to keep me going. And it definitely slowed me down a bit. And so I kind of really just wanted to try to take it a little slower and whatnot. But every turn, as everyone knows, as a field day coordinator, well, that you're pulled 6 ways to Sunday to try to get everything going. I think it went flawlessly overall. But from my standpoint, I think all my fun was definitely had on Friday night when things kind of quieted down. And, it was just Paul and I, KF4TPY. He had stayed overnight. And him and I just, sat around the radio, had a couple of great steaks, and a few good, drinks of, a couple of beers. And then, he cracked out the whiskey, which I don't know whether it was a good thing in hindsight. But, that just made those contacts much sweeter when we were talking to Europe and working Wales. I mean, Wales on the DX, on the Buddy Pole Buddy Hex, which that is a phenomenal antenna. I have been blown away by it. Spinning that thing around to pick up a Wales, a 5.9, and they were like, "Wow, you're super clear." We were fighting the pileups, no problem with that thing.
Were you on 20 meters when you're doing that?
On 20 meters, it was totally,
20 meters. Lately, the last couple of weeks at night in the evening has just been phenomenal. Like I said, I've hit Europe too when I'm working those overnights and clear as could be. So
Solar cycle 25.
Mm-hmm. It giveth and taketh away, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment. My son Zach, who is the baseball player, is watching. So, wanted to say hi to him. But you see, Zach, you see the dedication I do to your baseball. I miss half a field day coaching your baseball. So don't you forget that, okay?
Yeah. Just remember when you have to change his diapers when he's 70. So.
Yeah, you remember that.
So, yeah. Overall, the mood was different, which is great. The bands, I think, were like we all expected. We were coming into that whole entire week, as we all know, the bands were just all up and down. I remember trying to get a couple of POTUS in the weeks before, and it was just like touch and go and barely, making 10 contacts to activate a park. That it kind of made me feel like, okay, are we going to have a repeat of last year? But I think overall, we netted some really good numbers. The bands were pretty good. And I think equipment-wise, we had some, very good, very unique, very well-constructed setups. I mean, Paul, one of our station captains, from my experience, I didn't have to think about. I mean, he just literally, he had everything planned. He, had all of it all set up. So it was literally just like, almost like I was, waiting for the Barker Lounger and, a nice concierge service to go boot, because he pretty much had it all planned out and everything was great. And our, everything this year, I think my thing that I wanted to get done this year, and we'll get into that a little bit, but I think we tried to do an education pavilion where we, trying to get the public there, but, we got thwarted by rain, which, I thought was something we could avoid, but it killed the best of us.
Yeah, and for those who are not in the area who are watching, the local news reported this past June as the third wettest June in recorded history. So it was raining cats and dogs for a long period of time. And I think if it had been sunny through the weekend, warmer temperatures, there would have been that much more activity. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
The weather definitely played a big deal there.
Yeah. And although, I mean, every tent that we had and every setup we had, I mean, there was not really much of a problem in terms of people getting super drenched. It's obviously when you had to get from one place to another that there was a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
and I, of course, I was not going to listen to it. I was subjecting, my reality for everybody else's, with the idea that it was not going to rain, and Mother Nature obviously had a different opinion of how that was going to work out. Let's go kind of a little bit deeper. I mean, obviously, Todd, you want to talk about a little bit, or Ryan, you can start off. What was, your experience overall? Just, you obviously weren't coming for the whole entire day, and you did spend the night, I think, Friday night over and whatnot. What was your kind of expectation to get there? Were you just looking to just kind of socialize, or, did you have a kind of a plan?
Yeah, so this year we had a family vacation. I was supposed to be out of town, and then last minute changes, that fell apart. So I was home, and I was not a club station captain, so I didn't have a setup dedicated for field day. And so I was showing up, more of a social and kind of fill in the gaps, open radios. Spent the night Saturday night, which was a lot of fun. My son and I camped out with KC1 NID, Casey, and he's very generous with his camper there, and it was a great time. one of the highlights was Tim's cooking, which was fabulous. It's definitely a highlight. So his hot sauce and everything else was a nice added perk. And we'll talk about that here in a brief moment. But overall, it's just a lot of fun hanging out with good friends.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. I got to spend a little bit of time at the campfire and talking to people. Tim saved me a sandwich because lunch was over by the time I got there Saturday, and he had it in Casey's refrigerator, and it was a hell of a sandwich. I tell you, it was one of the best ones I've had in a long time. But next year, he says he's doing omelets for breakfast, so I'm going to be there for his omelets. It should be good.
Totally. Let's see if he's ready to bring on, and we'll bring him here on the stream, guys. Here, hold on a second. Hey, Tim, you all done with your net duties there and ready to kind of jump right in?
Yes, I am.
Very cool. All right. Well, it's kind of a good segue because in essence, we've obviously been chatting about the wonderful food and the extra 10 or 15 pounds that we walked away with from field day. So,
Yes.
so just to pose the same question to you, what was your intended goal for when you kind of went into field day? What did you have, did you want to set out to do, and did you accomplish it? And more so, as being the food concierge, catering, for the whole event, anything out of that, you kind of want to throw in there or chit chat about it, experience wise or, anecdotally.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I got a lot of stuff to say about field day, and it was a real good time. And I'll tell you, we're real lucky to have Eric there as our fearless leader in field day, and I think you do a wonderful job coordinating it. And all of us really appreciate that, because if it wasn't for you coordinating it, it wouldn't go anywhere near as well as it did, and the way it did last year. And I really enjoyed this year. I didn't just do the food. I kind of figured out a way to do radio and the food. So that was my favorite part, and hanging around with all you guys and doing the live net from the field day site. It was all very exciting and, funny. There was a lot of good moments on that net when, where the dog, Chris and Todd's tent.
Yeah. I don't know if Todd caught that video yet, and now he knows.
And Paul watched it off, but, and then and the camera died, and we said, "Oh, we broke the camera." And
so Eric, can you kind of lay the groundwork there for everyone?
Yeah.
So, how did the video go? What the setup?
So those folks, if you want to go over and catch the video, you can go over to my YouTube channel at N1JUR Amateur Radio. It's posted there as one of the live videos. But the whole intention was that I was going to live stream the whole entire weekend, and we were Tim was, he basically came to me. He's like, "Dude, we're gonna do the net from the from field day site." I'm like, "Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. Let's live stream it." So I figured that work out all the bugs. Well, we got the camera set up and everything was streaming well, and the net was going great, and everybody, from the net was just jumping in and, listening to the live stream and at the same time while they're on the net. And then, like, as Tim said, like, it was almost a comedy of errors. It was like, Paul kind of jumped in and he was kind of sitting in the chair, and it was just, it was going great to a certain point. And then, before the battery had died on the, GoPro camera for whatever reason, and we started having technical issues there. I didn't even see it, and Tim didn't bring it to my attention until it finally closed and the live show was over. He's like, "Dude, you gotta go back and watch the video." I'm like, "Why? What's going on? Is it is it wrong?" He's like, "Yeah, well, Watson, Paul's dog, decided to christen, Todd's tent." And I'm like, "You got to be kidding me," because I didn't even see it. And of course, it was like, perfect, like you could clear shot to the middle of the, where you don't want to capture. You capture this dog peeing on the tent. It's like Paul's all embarrassed. So he goes over and grabs the water and gives the dog a hard time. But it was like a perfect ending to a good typical net.
That's funny.
So Tim,
it was really fun, Eric.
So yeah, I wish we could have live streamed more.
Say that, and I liked having a fire we had a fire on Saturday night, and we all kind of sat around the fire and talked, and out in the country, under the stars, and it was just such a good time. And I think all of us will always remember the things we did at field day, because it is so much fun, and we don't get to do that stuff, all the time.
Bill is very
knew
true.
about the final.
The dog didn't know about the finals for sure. So Tim, obviously from the 2 years you've done food and whatnot, and we'll kind of start with you because I know I always bring way too much stuff for some reason, even though I plan as much as I can. Do you feel from the previous year that you did to this year that you came with just the right amount of stuff, too much, too little, or did you find that you get a good format that you kind of learned from doing catering that you could kind of share with folks?
Oh, you always make more than you think you're going to need. So you got to plan for hungry field day operators, and I don't know who's going to eat,
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 sandwiches, or who's going to just eat a half of one and be all set. So, you get a plan for it. And, we did pretty well. And Kim and I, we went over the menu beforehand and decided that it was a good menu for a group and for a group that, would like to make their own kind of things, like some people like spicy and some like sweet. And, when you can take something and kind of make it the way that you like it, it's always better. It's like the sandwiches, here's a blank canvas and every topping you can imagine, and everybody's going to get a sandwich they like that way.
Including
and
the
I really like
whatever it is.
I liked doing it that way. And that was another fun time. Ryan had mentioned when we were all under the tent and I came out to eat my sandwich, and I was looking at everybody like, well, all this hot sauce, we gotta, who wants to try the Thunder Juice?
Yeah, that's what it was.
And
Thunder
that
Juice.
was the Thunder Juice was the hottest one. I bought it at the chili.
I think Ryan
pepper
needs to
festival.
elaborate on that a little bit because it wasn't a small little drop.
I think the warning said, use sparingly, just a couple drops. And Tim had
the guy who
literally
sold that
poured
to me.
the hot sauce onto the sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to waste it. So I took a big bite, and it kept me warm. That's for sure.
He had the most generous portion of all of that, and he handled it too, because it's like I could tell Ryan's been to like India and this and that, because
I think the last comment Ryan said
he took that thunder juice like nobody's business, and there was a holster. The guy who was selling it, he had a holster for his hot sauce. He'd whip it out of the holster and say, "Oh, try some of this." And
yeah, he has
it
no
was
taste
great,
now.
I tried some of the same stuff, the Thunder Juice, and I put a lot on there, and it's an experience for about 15-20 minutes after you eat it, because you're still sweating, and it cleans all the roaches out of your liver. So
amongst other things later.
But I had the sweet one there, the tiger sauce for anybody who wasn't into that whole you're gonna die if you eat this thing, But a lot of people tried all the different ones, and I had Tabasco, and I had the most common one there. Everybody puts it on. I made some mayonnaise out of it.
Oh, the Chipotle.
Sriracha.
Oh.
And I put some sriracha out there, and everybody likes sriracha, so I think everybody found something that they liked.
So would you think all in all from previous 2 years, from last year to this year, that you fared better and you had kind of a better, system going for you?
Yeah, I think it was a lot better. And I think, Kim and I did a lot of cooking on the grill the first year.
Mhm.
And you saw my grill. I have a really big grill, and lunking that thing around and setting up. And I made a vat of homemade Canadian beans. I had hot dogs and beans, and that's, for me, that was the perfect Saturday night meal, because that's what we ate growing up on Saturday nights. My
Right.
parents made hot dogs and beans. It was just what we had on Saturday night. And I figured, probably a lot of people around here grew up around here, ate beans and hot dogs on Saturday. So Saturday it was beans and hot dogs.
Mhm.
And it was good, but it was very labor intensive, and we had to keep everything hot. And I think the sandwiches were a lot easier to manage. We could keep everything cool instead of hot. But in the morning time, we did a continental breakfast with a pudding trifle
Which rocked.
and fresh fruit, and everybody liked that, with the different layers of pudding and Oreos. And Mike even told me, Mike W1EA, he told me, don't tell Evelyn I'm having this for breakfast, because it was, it was like having
It's
dessert
now-
for breakfast.
It's now on YouTube, so we can't
Yeah.
keep it a secret any longer. But
Uh-oh.
Well,
Sorry, Mike.
so we went to my family would go to this camp called Camp Sunshine. It was basically a camp for families who experienced their kids who had cancer. So real brief, my stepdaughter had cancer when she was 1, and she's totally fine now when she's 15. But we would go there, and one of the best breakfasts they had was waffles and ice cream. That's what they'd serve, and the kids loved that one. I even liked it. I was like, "That's a good breakfast."
Yeah.
Nice big waffle with a scoop of ice cream on it,
Waffles.
some chocolates.
For next year, I'm looking forward to the omelet. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a great hit. So
I do have a waffle maker, and I
you
can
got
make
my
crepe
pretty waffles.
too.
yeah, bring some official
My-
New Hampshire
My
syrup.
grandfather used to make he'd make the crepe, the eggy
Oh
crepe
yeah,
pancake, and
those are good
boy,
too.
that stuff is good with brown sugar and cinnamon on it. And
We're
but
totally gonna have to
yeah,
get you-
omelets next year. I need the little flat top that I can not the big giant grill. I'm going to bring a smaller flat top, and I'll make them up to order, and I
Yeah,
know how to do grill cooks, so I can do omelets to order for everybody.
yeah, we got a couple of
You can
griddles.
build your
that we can
own.
bring. Yep.
Well,
yeah,
we can
I'm
also
sure
start,
that
if you want to contribute to our Patreon to fund Tim's future kitchens for our club cooking, so you can see all of us get super fattened up, then please donate to our Patreon and just direct it directly to him, and we'll make sure it gets to the appropriate area.
and
So,
all we need is a concession trailer
yeah, we're on
with a
the one.
fryolator, an ice cream freezer, a flat top, and a broiler, and
There you go.
a small pizza oven, and I think we'll be good.
Well, you forgot the two most important things. You need a VHF, UHF radio, and at least an HF radio. Come on, so you round out the
Oh,
corners, and you're good there. Sweet. I'm good for that.
Tim, you should kind of talk to Bill, our president of our club, W1WRA. He's always bragging about his green egg and all the stuff he's cooking. We might want to tap into him with that green egg. Maybe he can add to our dinner meal with some good grilling stuff.
Ham radio, food,
Oh, yeah.
hanging out. This is a good combination here.
We might be the dominant club, not in points, but in food alone.
That's right. The reputation will spread quickly.
that I
Just
like.
in the new membership.
Oh, totally.
Oh
good.
yeah, I do like the barbecue, and I have done a pig roast many times with I use a mop to baste the pig. I make a big vat of barbecue sauce, and I get a deck mop and deck mop the barbecue sauce on the pig, and that's kind of fun. But last time my sister had me do a pig roast at her house, and I don't think they realized what that entailed. So I put the head on the platter and with an apple in its mouth, and I laid all the meat around it. And I carried the pig head into her kitchen and put it down. And boy, my sisters were mortified. They never asked me to do anything ever again.
Yeah.
So Tim, just
I said,
so
come on, you know where it came from.
Tim, so people who are listening, so you have the reason you're our cook is because you used to be a cook before you did what you're doing now, correct? Or a chef?
Oh yeah, well, I was the executive chef at Daniel Webster College for about 10 years, and I ran the galley on a merchant marine ship. SUNY Maritime College hired me to run the galley on the TSS Empire State, and we cooked through the worst conditions because it was a training ship, and we were steering into the bad weather. So it was pretty interesting to try to cook turkey dinner for people while the oven doors are bungeed shut, and you're watching the ship go like this and like this, and the juice is running out of the oven, and you got to try not to get lit on fire, you know.
Nice.
The captain would say, "Oh, it's bad weather today," you know. So we're gonna make sandwiches, you know.
Tim's not just a guy that got stuck with the cooking. He's actually he's a professional.
Yeah, totally. He has to be around us.
I'm a classically trained chef. I had a mentor, and I spent years studying under him, and yeah, he showed me how to cook for a crowd. So, and I retired from that, but I still enjoy doing that for you guys because you guys are my buddies, you know, and I like cooking for Kim and with my wife, and I just don't do it commercially anymore. But at home, I really do enjoy everything about that. We hardly ever have to go out to eat. That's for sure. We make
so obviously after
at the house.
After Todd's DX10 meltdown and whatnot, obviously one of the things I've got a little bullet point that I want to talk about was anything you might have done differently, Todd. Knowing obviously the ICOM came to save your day and your bacon, as they say. Anything you would have kind of taken a little bit more time in the the back end of stuff before field day kind of rolled through to improve upon for next year.
Well, I definitely would have, if I had the time, I would have set up the thing to figure out I was inverted and had that done. What I am learning, and I have notes, is my goal is to have a field day so I'm more like Paul, who is totally set up and good to go and doesn't need any help and gets it done. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal for next year. I mean, I'm getting there. I got to get the radio, make sure that's right. I thought it was working. I don't know when they went, but I haven't used it in a while because of the other radio. So I don't know. But that's one of the things I'd like to get done for next year is and be self-sufficient, meaning not have to borrow anything. Paul comes in and basically has everything he possibly could need to get his station up and running, where I still need an antenna because I think I hooked up to yours both years, mm-hmm. Some coax, but stuff like a fan, like you brought the fan for the thing. So I know next year bring a big fan because you want to keep that air flowing in that shelter so you're not so hot.
Yep.
So
cool. How about you, Ryan? What do you obviously you didn't do field day this year, but you were kind of privy to seeing what was going on. Anything you kind of take away from that?
Yeah, having some backups to some of the important, maybe a spare battery in case someone underestimated their, the load they're pulling, or an extra different style antenna, or just being able to help where I think would be looking forward to for next year. Like I said earlier, now I'm shopping for a nice shelter, that has the rain flies on the side, and can lower it if it gets wet, or keep them up for the airflow. I did pick up some nice comfortable chairs, so that'll be nice. But also, I did see one setup that they had a lot of stuff, external speakers and adapters and this and that, and so I'm always trying to gear towards my philosophy of keeping it simple, clean, minimalist, so that it is easy to set up And if you do have an issue, you can troubleshoot it more directly. You're minimizing the number of connections and just hardware that's sitting on the table. So,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I'm hoping once I get my Go box done, it's going to be like how the Icom was. Put it in, plug it in, turn it on, and voila, it works.
Yep.
So everything will be in one box, so that'll keep it simple. My battery seemed to last fine. I didn't even use that much juice, for what we used it for, and I just left it on. So I think that battery that I have should last the full 24 hours, even being on. So next year I want to get solar panels hooked up to it, just to keep it charged at least during the day, keep it topped off. And so those are some of the notes I took down, but looking forward to next year. Should be fun.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, Tim, anything from either the cooking side of things or just in general from the, participating at the CW station and whatnot that you kind of gleaned that you think, we should include next year or talk about or, address?
I really did have a good time, and I tried to get around to all the stations and see what everybody was doing. And I liked Todd's tent, especially really for having a group of people inside operating. Yeah, it was a good setup for that. I think that was the trouble during winter field day, and was just having a smaller tent. It's hard to get a whole bunch of people in comfortably, and seemed like Todd had the right idea in that big battery. I felt very fortunate to be able to sit with some of the guys in the club who do CW and do it really well, and just very lucky to watch them operate. And I felt I took a little bit away from that and helped myself maybe get a little better. I wasn't reading as fast or sending as fast as any of these guys, but someday I will. You just got to keep practicing. And
it was really neat to watch Tom AC1J operate on his CW skills. I know you were kind of shadowing him there, Tim, and it was neat to see someone who's well versed in the code, just tap away at that. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, one thing I'd say.
Yeah, and the other thing. Go ahead, Todd.
Go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead, Todd.
All right, I'll go. One of the things I think we need to kind of investigate is when Casey was doing FT8, even though he was on a different band, I was still getting a lot of noise. And it happened last year too, and then it disappeared. So I don't know why that happens, but I was getting like every 15 seconds. I'm like, oh, Casey's transmitting.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah.
You had one thing to mention, Tim. Go ahead, before I kind of throw in my few things.
Yeah, I just have one last thing. One thing that I noticed that was really helpful. I noticed Ryan doing this, and Bill too, and Bill Freeman, who's here watching, doing this. These guys were helping with technical problems. And I noticed you were doing it also, Eric, and you were all jumping in and helping everybody at different points with technical issues. And I think that technical support is very important during an event like this, because if something happens, there's a lot of experience there, and someone who knows who's this happened to before can jump in and help out to keep things moving.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I think all of those are totally spot on, and all of them, definitely on my top 10 list. I think the biggest thing, at least as being the 2 years or 3 years that I've done, coordinating our field day, the one thing I've learned the most that I keep still coming back to that we haven't quite nailed down is, and Todd touched upon it a little bit in terms of the, filtering and, antennas. One of the things that we got to work a little bit more on in our location, and our field day location is a great location, is to kind of spread our antennas farther out from the points that we're operating from to get, the maximum distance to, dealing with some of those issues where, Todd, you had mentioned we're getting splattering, and we're picking up some of the FT8 signals across 20 meter band and stuff like that. A couple of that might solve it with bandpass filters. One of the things I wanted to try this year that we couldn't seem to track down, and as everyone probably knows that owns a a decent antenna and wants to share it amongst radios, is trying to pick up a triplexer or a duplexer or whatever is for HF is very difficult these days to get a really good one. And they're just not they're primarily out of Russia, so the lucky that we'll get a lot of the supply coming this way will be for a long time coming. But trying to get one of those and then get bandpass filters, I think might have remedied some of those situations. It wouldn't fully, clear up a lot of the things, but it probably would have, cut down on the stepping on of FT8 and CW and stuff like that. Because I do remember the 2 years ago that we had similar issues with the CW tent being relatively close to a couple other verticals and having your antennas kind of, be opposites of each other, vertical versus, wire antennas, that type of stuff. And basically getting them away from each other versus bringing them closer in can help those scenarios. So I think, that's a big thing. One of the other pieces that I gleaned that I think would have been a little bit, as a life lesson to grow upon, would be more around the idea of, coordinating our, we really didn't do it this year. I can't say that we did it last year. Last year we struggled a little bit in terms of just getting enough help during the day in terms of just people and bodies to be able to kind of help take a lot of the load. But this year we were all ready for that, and then we got so much rain that we had no public and very little involvement. The other struggles is that you just get into a place where you just if you can't use all those people that were willing to volunteer because there's rain, then guess what, they're kind of all sitting around. So I felt kind of a bummer there that we the weather kind of thwarted some of that stuff. But one of the things I saw last year, which was really awesome, and I'd love to be able to continue to replicate it, would be just that whole education side of things, where the public was just so excited to be involved and learn about ham radio and understand what it meant to their church organizations or their clubs that are part of that might need or talking about how they can do neighborhood watches and all that stuff. So there's a lot of conversations had by that I kind of was like, I was hoping to have again this year, but because of what transpired, we just didn't really get a chance to do that. But I think doing that a little bit more and getting the word out in that area where you're really just telling people about the hobby, because as we all know and we all share and we all enjoy ham radio. It's a great experience. It's fun to get out, and it kind of dovetails into my last final question. And you guys have any great kind of one-off stories about the ham conversions, as we I'll call them, of folks that you might have bumped into that normally weren't operating, or just was experience, field day for the first time this year, that mentioned that they were interested in more of the hobby?
What I know, Paul's grandson, KA1PAT, he had attended there and had a good time, following his grandpa around the various tents, and maybe sparked an interest there in the hobby. I'm not sure, but he definitely had a good little exposure for a couple hours there. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Well, I feel bad because he came to my station and I had him get on and call it out and do it.
Oh,
I said, you're doing it. And it didn't have any. He tried and he couldn't. You
thwarted it. I totally.
Right. So I told Paul, I said, listen, man. He goes, we got to take him out to a POTA activation, and then he'll have fun. As I guarantee you, he'll make contacts. But I couldn't understand why we weren't making the contacts, and the poor kid was trying, and I didn't want him to get discouraged. I'm like, you got to keep saying it, but really, it wasn't his fault. So I'm going to reach out to Paul and say, hey, one of these weekends, let's get your grandson and let's go to a park and let him play some real radio.
Very cool. Any those stories, Tim, for yourself?
No, but I did enjoy seeing Paul with his grandsons, and Ryan brought his son, and you brought your kids, and it seems like and your brother came, and family came, and just had a really good time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year.
Yeah,
and definitely count me in as long as I'm able. I will. So
Cool. Yeah, I think for me, story
About it for me.
one anecdotal story that I have is kind of my daughter. She's got her ticket. She got her ticket. Long story short, as a surprise to dad, a while back, and that was great. And so she's kind of. I didn't let her do too much. I mean, I let her figure out what she wanted to do in the hobby. Long story short of it, she brought her friend, who's one of her close friends to field day, and she was just totally blown away by the whole experience and how fun radio could be, and what it is that she's literally walked away from it. And my daughter keeps telling me, she's like, she keeps talking about it all the time, and I'm like, well, have you gotten her to the ham study stuff? Let's get going. So she's already sent her the link, so I think she'll pretty much be a ham sooner than later. And it's funny because the one thing they both said when they left field day that night was like, we're coming back next year and we're gonna do an all-girls station. Now I'm like, totally, like, dude, it doesn't have to be an all-girls station, but
I did hear her say that.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna encourage this is something I'm gonna push hard, so we can get I would love to have, like, we have a couple of ladies in our club that definitely they are great operators, and they can definitely be great operators. But I think a lot of times they just step to the side to let the guys do some things sometimes. But I want them to get out there and pull pull all the weight, and basically come out, neck and neck with the CW station next year, whatever that's going to look like. So I think, with my daughter at the helm, because she's a type like myself.
Eric, all they got to do is get an open frequency and just start calling out, and we're done. They're going to be in it. They're not going to be able to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll have to set up the schedule specifically for them.
Yep, absolutely.
You could get a Hello Kitty tent.
Oh, I won't go that far. My daughter's not a Hello Kitty fan, but anyway.
Then we'll all stay away from it, and the girls will have it all to themselves for sure.
I guess Bill had another little girl operate CW and whatnot, so it's pretty cool on that side. Bill actually was I appreciate Bill coming to do the education tent. He did CW specific, where he was just he set up 2 more Serinos, and even though it was pouring rain and we had a little very little foot traffic and whatnot, he totally stepped in and showed everybody CW had 2 more Serinos. He took my more Serino, which mind you was broken, and I appreciate it, Bill, because it was only half fully soldered. I should have really finished it off, but I got bored and moved on.
That'll be a topic for another evening.
Good thing I gave that thing back.
Yeah,
so I was going to break it. It was like delicate.
It's still working great. Actually, my daughter loves it now too. So I appreciate Bill. Thanks for fixing that for her. So now she gets to play around with it and fool around with CW and not have to worry about whether the key is hooked up to my oscillator or the radio. So yeah, that was a great experience that encouraged me, and so it also opened up my wallet, because my daughter's like, well, all I have is an HT, Dad. That is Todd's laughing. He knows that there's gonna be 300 probably in her Jeep in the next week or two. So I think we're taking a trip to the candy store, and we'll get her an antenna and a radio. And
very good
process. Yeah. So
you gonna get her a tri-bander?
No, we'll give her a dual bander. She'll be good there. She'll get something like Dad has. So if she has questions, I can answer them and not have to think about it.
Very cool.
So, all right, cool. Well, hey, let's wrap this up a little bit. Again, appreciate all the comments in the chat there, and keep them coming as well. And Bill, we will definitely. I take my daughter on POTA all the time, just to make a comment there. She's been on there. I actually have a recording on my radio of her voice, and I use that in the most inopportune times. Yeah, I know. I have a story about a POTA event that I did that I'll share some other time, but ultimately that's how I actually secured the 10 contacts in the park with her voice. So there's a bunch of angry hams that have learned not to answer always a female voice. So so with that, yeah, she's definitely
secret weapon.
Yeah, she is my secret weapon when it comes to that. So yeah, we'll be on vacation. I'm sure you'll hear a female voice calling CW CQ sometime soon.
It's an extra 6 dB.
Oh, totally, easily. Especially if you have a 3BD plus antenna on top of that, you're putting out 9 dB, man, dude. That's amazing.
Yep.
So any last kind of final things you guys want to mention about field day? Good, bad, ugly, or indifferent?
Well, this is good because we have the next one's winter field day. And so it's just more planning, and it's just going to get better and better. So I think this is we're off to a good roll here.
Yeah, totally. that is next on the plans. How about you, Todd, or how about you, Tim?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. Like I said, I'm hoping I'll be more smoother. It seems like every year something happens on my station for whatever reason it may be, but I'm going to be more prepared and make sure the radio is working this time. And my next purchase will be the solar panels to keep that battery going. But I don't even know if I needed the solar panels, but it's a good safety mechanism in case it does die out. But yeah, we'll do it again next year.
Very cool. Tim, how about you?
Not too much else to add, but I just want to say, all of us appreciate what you do, Eric, and I love hanging around with you guys and playing radio, and looking forward to next year. And we're going to have a good time doing it, and that's why we do it.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody has a nice evening. Thanks for watching the podcast, and give it back to Eric.
Yeah, I would say, for me, field day is definitely about radio. That's on my top 3, and playing radio. We are not a contest group by any stretch of the imagination with our club, and that's what I love about us, is that we don't fighting for points. But I think our big strength is the social side of it, and just making connections. And we talked about sitting around campfires and enjoying steaks with each other, and a good drink and good company. And so those are the moments that I cherish the most. And if I could walk away with every field day that always happens, then I've got a success in the success column for me every year. So totally love that whole aspect, and love hanging out with you guys as well. You definitely are great brothers, and good to hang around with, and love to play radio with you. So I think with that, again, thank you for being part of our live Hammond. Oh my gosh, I did it again. My gosh, put me out in the pasture. Live Free and Ham podcast. We truly value your support. We love to hear about your field day experiences. Head over to our website and comment and share some of your experiences. And as always, you can always reach out to any one of our hosts, first and foremost, but obviously visiting livefreeandham.com. You can also follow us on all of our socials at Live Free and Ham podcast as well. And to reach out to any one of our hosts here as well, how could they get in touch with you, Tim?
Everybody can check out my website at kc1qdk.com, or they can write me an email at kc1qdk@gmail.com.
Cool. And how about you, Ryan?
Yep. So website's w1snh.com, and it's Ryan at w1snh.com.
And w1stj.com and w1stj.nh@gmail.com to email me.
Very cool. And as always, you can reach me and find me at n1jur.com or n1jur.nh@gmail.com. And to get a hold of all of us at the podcast, you can always fill out our comment form or email us at livefreeandhampod@gmail.com. As always, thanks for listening and participating in this live chat. It was great for us. Looking forward to doing a heck of a lot more. So thanks again for participating. Spread the love. Let others know about us, and definitely please provide a review if you can. And from all of us at Live Free and Ham, 7-3.
73.